Hi guys, welcome to the channel of Love Study Group. We're reading How to Raise Your Own Salary by Napoleon Hill. We're on chapter 6. I did stop halfway through. Let me find the page where we were on. Okay. Use organised individual endeavour. Okay, let's start with Napoleon Hill. What part has America... Let's start again. Okay. Hill. What part has the American form of government served in the development of American industry, Mr. Carnegie? Carnegie. A very necessary part indeed. If you will read the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States, you will see clearly that the men who wrote those profound documents clearly intended to surround the people of America with every conceivable right and opportunity for the free exercise of personal initiative. Under no other form of government do men receive such definite encouragement to exercise their personal initiative. Hill. Then you see no reason for changing our form of government? Carnegie. Not unless we find still better ways of influencing men to take possession of their own minds and use their abilities on their own initiative. Our form of government is not perfect, but it is the best the world has yet discovered. It provides far greater liberties and privileges of the use of personal initiative than the majority of men are using intelligently. Why change it until the people of America catch up with it by using the opportunities it provides? Tinkering with things that serve satisfactorily is one trait that gets men into difficulty. This is one form of personal initiative that should be discouraged. It comes under the heading of meddlesome curiosity. If a man has good health, he should go about his business and not interfere with nature by experimenting with cures of diseases with which he does not suffer. However, there are some who do not follow this rule. They are known as hypochondriacs, and they are always suffering with imaginary illness. We are in a healthy economic condition in this country. We have vastly greater undeveloped resources than any we are using. Let us not experiment with our economic system, but rather let us make more intelligent use of our present system, to the end that we may make better uses of our great resources. Nations that are always experimenting with their systems of government and their economic systems are engaged in revolutions and counter-revolutions most of their time. No small part of our success here in America is due to the spirit of harmonious relationship existing between the states of the Union. That harmony is the direct result of our form of government, which wisely provides an incentive for harmony among the people. In union, there is strength. This is true of business and industrial groups, the same as it is in the relationship between the states. Hill. What do you believe to be the greatest possible evil that might curtail the success of the American people as a whole? Carnegie. Anything that would weaken the spirit of harmony between the people. Our unity of purpose is our greatest national asset. It is vastly more important than all our natural resources, for without this we would become the victims of any greedy nation that might wish to take our natural resources away from us. We fought a tragic war among our own people to maintain our national unity. While memories of this war linger in the minds of some, now we all recognise that a separation of the states would have meant the beginning of our disintegration. And I might well add that the greatest evil that can overtake an industry or a business is that which disturbs the harmonious working relationship between those engaged in it. Business succeeds through the friendly cooperation of those engaged in it. Personal initiative is a power for good only when men combine their experience and ability and work towards a common end in a spirit of harmony and understanding. Hill. Then you do not look with favour on those who make it their business to stir up strife, hatred and envy among men who are engaged in the operation of the American industrial system? Carnegie: no, this is a form of personal initiative which may help some, but it destroys the rights of many. In our own industry, I have never had any misunderstanding with those who work for me, except that which was inspired by professional agitators who profit by disturbing human relationships. That is the worst of all forms of personal initiative. How could I have had any misunderstanding with men who, down to the humblest worker, knew that the door of opportunity was wide open day and night to those who wish to earn more by making themselves worth more? The man who helps wage earners to rise from day labour to become millionaires, as I have done whenever I had the opportunity, is not likely to have any misunderstanding with his men if he is left alone to deal with them on the basis of free enterprise. Hill: but Mr. Carnegie, are there not some employers who do not take such a constructive attitude regarding their relationship with their employees? Are there not some employers who greedily clamour for more than their share of what their business produces? Carnegie: yes, there are some such. There always have been. There will always be men of greed, but they do not last. Competition soon eliminates them. That is one of the benefits of the system of free enterprise under which we operate in America. Here, an employer must make good or make room, and he cannot make good at the expense of his employees. His competitors see to that. Hill: when and under what circumstances should one begin to exercise personal initiative? Is there not such a thing as favourable circumstances under which one may exercise initiative profitably, exactly right, while other circumstances make it advisable for one to remain inactive? Carnegie: the time to begin using personal initiative is immediately following one's definite decision as to what one wishes to accomplish. The time to begin is right then. If the plan chosen turns out to be weak, it can be changed for a better one, but any sort of plan is better than procrastination. The universal evil of the world is procrastination, the terrible habit people have of waiting for the time to begin something to be just right. It causes more failures than all the weak plans of the world. Hill: but shouldn't one consult others and get their opinions before beginning important plans? Carnegie: opinions are like the sands of the desert, and most of them are about as slippery. Everyone has an opinion about practically everything, but most of them are unworthy of trust. The man who hesitates because he wants the opinions of others before he begins to exercise his personal initiative usually winds up by doing nothing. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule. There are times when the counsel and advice of others are absolutely essential for success. But if you refer to idle opinions of bystanders, let them alone. Avoid them as you would an epidemic of disease, for that is exactly what idle opinions are, a disease. Everyone has a flock of them, and most people hand them out freely, without being asked. If you want an opinion on which you can rely, consult the man who is known to be an authority on the subject in connection with which you seek an opinion. Pay him for his counsel, but avoid free opinions, because they are generally worth exactly what one pays for them. I recall quite clearly what some acquaintances of mine said when they heard I was planning to cut the price of steel to $20 a tonne. "Here go broke," they shouted. They gave me free advice without my seeking it. I passed it by and went ahead with my plans. Steel came down to $20 a tonne. When Henry Ford announced he would give the people a dependable automobile for less than $1,000, they shouted, "Here go broke." But Ford went ahead with his plans, and one day he will be the dominating factor in one of America's greatest industries, and he'll not go broke. When Columbus announced that he would sail his little boat across an uncharted ocean and discover a new route to India, the doubting Thomases cried out, "He's crazy, he'll never come back." But he did come back. When Copernicus announced he had invented an instrument with which he had revealed hidden worlds never before seen by the human eye, these same free opinion fellows hooted, "Heretic! Put him to the torch!" They actually wanted to burn him for daring to use his own initiative. When Alexander Graham Bell announced he had invented a telephone with which people could talk to one another at long distance by the use of wires, the unbelievers yelled, "Poor Alex has gone crazy." But Bell went ahead with his idea and perfected it, although the time did not appear to be just right. And you'll have your turn with these free opinion boys who spend their time trying to discourage men from using their own initiative. You'll hear them cry out, "He can't do it. He can't give the world a philosophy of individual achievement because no one has ever done it before." But if you take my advice, you will go right ahead and back your judgment on your own initiative. When you succeed, as succeed you will, the world will grow with the glory and lay its treasures at your feet, but not until you have taken the risk and have proved your ideas sound. Don't become discouraged because other people may tell you the time is not right. The time is always right for the man who knows what he wants and goes to work to get it. The world needs a philosophy of individual achievement. It has always needed such a philosophy. Go ahead and supply that need, no matter how long it takes, or what sacrifices you may have to make to do the job. Do the job the best you can, and you'll learn from first-hand experience that these calamity howlers are nothing but a bunch of disappointed human beings who are suffering with an inferiority complex because they have neglected to use their own initiative. Hill, that was quite a speech, Mr. Carnegie, and I take it for granted that you meant it mostly for me. Carnegie, yes, I meant it for you, and through your efforts I hope it will serve the yet unborn generations long after I shall have passed on. The world needs men who have the courage to act on their own initiative. Moreover, men of this type write their own price tag, and the world willingly pays it. The world willingly rewards men of initiative. The privilege of personal initiative is an important part of the American way of life, but the privilege is worth nothing if it is not exercised. What we need most here in the United States is a continuous sales campaign for the sole purpose of keeping the American people inspired with a desire to take advantage of the opportunities available for the accumulation of riches. The government should conduct a continuous campaign designed entirely to bring to the attention of the people the nature and scope of the opportunities available to them. Hill, then you believe there are still enough opportunities for individual success in the United States to go around to all the people? Carnegie, yes, there is an opportunity to match the ambition and the ability of every person in the United States. But opportunity will not hunt the man. The order must be reversed through organised individual endeavour. The greatest opportunities will be available to those who are the most capable of organising and directing their own efforts. Hill, some may not understand what is meant by the term organised individual endeavour. Would you define your understanding of this principle? Carnegie, the principle of organised individual endeavour consists of very definite procedure through which an individual may promote himself into whatever station he desires or acquire whatever material things he wishes. The steps to be taken are these. A. Choice of a definite purpose or objective. B. Creation of a plan for the attainment of the objective. C. Continuous action in carrying out the plan. D. Alliance with those who will cooperate in carrying out the plan. E. moving at all times on one's own initiative. Organised individual endeavour might be briefly described as planned action. Any action based on a definite plan has a better chance of success than effort of an unorganised, haphazard nature, such as that in which the majority of people engage. Able leadership without organised individual endeavour is an impossibility. The two major points of difference between a leader and a follower are these. 1. The leader carefully plans his efforts, and 2. He moves on his own initiative without being told to do so. If you wish to find a potential leader, look around until you find a man who makes his own decisions, plans his own work, and carries out his plans on his own initiative. In such a man, you will see the major requirements for leadership. This is a type of man who pioneered in American industry, and to him we owe the credit for the great American industrial system, which is the envy of the world. Hill. What about the quality of genius? Aren't the leaders in industry and business blessed with some form of genius, which most people do not possess, Mr. Carnegie? Carnegie. Now you are talking about a fallacy that has deceived more people than any other mistaken idea. The word genius is badly overlooked. It is generally used to explain successful achievement because most people do not take the time to dig in and find out how men succeed. Personally, I do not know what a genius is. I have never seen one, but I have seen many successful people who are called geniuses. Analysis of the cause of their success would show that they are only average men who have discovered and applied certain rules which enabled them to get from where they started to where they wish to go. Every normal person has within him the potentiality of that which we call genius in one field of endeavour or another, depending upon the individual's preferences, his inborn traits of character and his ambition. I would say that the nearest quality to genius that I could describe is an obsessional desire to do some one thing and do it well, plus the willingness to act on one's own initiative. From this point on, genius is only a matter of organised individual endeavour, persistently carried out. The man who knows precisely what he wants and is determined to get it is about the nearest approach to that which some call genius that I can think of. Such a man has better than an average chance of success, and when he achieves success, the world is apt to look at him in the hour of triumph and attribute his achievements to what they believe to be genius. Hill. But Mr. Carnegie, doesn't the question of education enter into one's personal achievements? Isn't it true that the educated man has a better chance of success than the man who lacks education? Carnegie. Many men are schooled, but few men are educated. An educated man is one who has learned how to use his mind so that he can get everything he desires without violating the rights of others. Education, therefore, comes from experience and the use of the mind, and not merely from the acquisition of knowledge. Knowledge is of no value unless and until it is expressed in some form of useful service. Here is where the subject of personal initiative begins to prove its importance as an essential of success. To answer your question more specifically, an educated man has a better chance of success than one who is not educated only in the event that he applies his education in the achievement of some definite objective. All too often, men rely upon their possession of knowledge to take the place of organised individual endeavour. They expect to be paid for that which they know instead of that which they do with their knowledge. This point is important. I have heard it said that some successful businessmen hesitate to employ men who have just graduated from college for the reason that many college graduates have too much they must unlearn before they become useful in the practical affairs of business. Speaking for myself, I would much prefer trained men for positions of responsibility, but I prefer them to come to me with an open mind, seeking more knowledge. I prefer those who have a sound knowledge of fundamentals rather than the tricks of the trade. I prefer those who know the difference between theory and practice. There is one great advantage that most college graduates have over those who lack this training, and it is the fact that college training helps one to organise his knowledge. Disorganised knowledge is of very little value. Hill, do you believe that alertness in the application of individual initiative is an inborn trait, that one has it or doesn't have it, according to the nature of his hereditary gifts? Carnegie, my observation of people has forced me to the conclusion that personal initiative is largely based on personal desires and ambitions. The man who appears to have no individual initiative awakens and moves under his own initiative in a hurry when he becomes obsessed with some definite strong desire or purpose. Hill, would you say then that personal desire is the beginning of all individual achievements? Carnegie, yes, without a doubt. Definiteness of purpose is the result of desire. When a man's desire take on the proportion of an obsession, he usually begins to translate them into their physical equivalent through definiteness of purpose. Desire, therefore, is the starting point of all individual achievements. As far as I know, there is no impelling motive other than desire which inspires a man to move on his own initiative. Herein lies the secret of the influence some wives have over their husbands. When a man's wife desires riches or success, she may transplant that desire in the mind of her husband and cause him to move on it in a way that will enable him to succeed. I have often known of this happening, but in the last analysis, the desire for riches or success must become a definite motive on the part of the husband. The presence of a deeply seated desire in a man's mind has a tendency to stir him into action as nothing else can do. Hill, then you believe it is true, as one philosopher expressed it, that man's faults consist in low aim and not in the stars. Carnegie, there is nothing that will take place of high aim. There is nothing that will take place of high aim. When a man sets his mind upon the achievement of a definite purpose, the powers of the universe appear to be on his side. He begins to make use of every available means to attain the object of his desires. The first thing that comes to his aid is his right to the exercise of individual initiative. Personal desires can be attained only by the exercise of personal initiative. If initiative takes on the form of organised individual endeavour, one's chances of success are greatly multiplied. When you analyse individual achievements in this manner, you learn quickly enough that no great achievement is possible without the application of organised individual endeavour. The use of this principle for the attainment of one's desires is not optional, it is imperative. Hill, from your analysis of organised individual endeavour, I assume that this principle can be applied by the man with little schooling as well as by the man with extensive schooling, that it is not essentially a part of one's education in the popular interpretation of the meaning of the word education. Carnegie, lest you become confused on this point, let me make it clear that no man is educated in the true meaning of that term until he acquires a practical working knowledge of the principle of organised individual endeavour. Moving in an orderly, well-organised manner towards a definite end is precisely the procedure of an educated person. Go back to the definition of the word education and study it carefully. You will observe that the application of education leaves no alternative other than that of action based on organised individual endeavour. You might properly say that organised individual endeavour is education. Hill, Mr. Carnegie, you said that the right time to begin a thing is when one makes up his mind to do it. Now there must be some plan by which the public schools can influence to teach the philosophy of American achievement as soon as it has been published in textbook form. Therefore, I would like to know how you would go about introducing the philosophy in the public schools. Carnegie, you have asked me to plan a job that will require many years for its completion, and many steps will have to be taken by you before the job is finished. Speaking in general terms, here is about the way you should proceed. First, you will have to publish the philosophy in popular textbook style and introduce it through individuals who desire to get ahead by the application of definite rules. If you are fortunate enough to find a publisher who will push the sale of your books, you will be able to do a pretty good job of distribution within from 3 to 5 years. Second, you should begin training lecturers who will be able to teach the philosophy, so that when the time comes you can supply the public schools with teachers. Meanwhile, before the public schools are ready for them, these lecturers can make good living by organising private classes. Third, you should organise your own private school for the purpose of teaching the philosophy by the home study method, whereby placing yourself in a position to reach men and women in all parts of the country who want the philosophy. Fourth, you should have your publisher arrange for the translation of the philosophy into foreign languages so it will be available to the mixed population of the United States who do not speak the English language. They need such a lesson in Americanism. This plan will also provide you with the means of spreading the philosophy in foreign countries. By the time you will have taken these steps, the general public will have become so philosophy conscious that the public schools will become attracted to it. The time required to bring all this about may be as much as 10 years, depending, of course, upon what sort of leader you prove yourself to be. Hill, in other words, it's up to me to put into practice that which I am offering to teach them. Is that the idea, Mr. Carnegie? Carnegie, that is exactly the idea. You wouldn't think much of a doctor who refused to take his own medicine if he were ill. You must become your own best advertisement of the philosophy of American achievement by demonstrating that you can make it work for you. Hill, do you mean that I must convert the philosophy into great riches to prove its soundness? Carnegie, it altogether depends upon what you mean by the term riches. There are many forms of riches, you know. As far as the accumulation of money is concerned, you can acquire all that which you need and much more by applying the philosophy. But I wish to call your attention to a form of riches available to you which transcends by far any that money represents. The riches I have in mind are so stupendous in both quality and quantity that you may be surprised when I describe them. You may be still more surprised when I tell you that the riches I have in mind will not accrue to you alone, but they will become the property of the people of the world. If you recognise the far-flung possibilities of the picture I am about to draw for you, and follow the suggestions I offer, you may see the day when your riches will be vastly greater than any I possess. Wow. Okay, I'm going to leave it there because I'm losing my voice a little bit. I had a bit of a coughing fit halfway through that. So we're going to leave it there with today's reading. We're going to have a part 3. Oh, we don't have much left. No, we're not. We're going to carry on. Let's crack on with this because we've only got one page, really. Okay. Oh, that's good. Happy days. Okay, so the Still Master's challenge to his prodigy. Prodigy? I'm not this great with these words. Listen. Education. I'm getting there. To his prodigy. So here is the picture. I warn you before I describe it that it will put you on the spot where your qualifications as a leader will be shown up for precisely what they are. But I will also be on the spot For I selected you out of all the men I know as the man most capable of taking the philosophy of American achievement to the people. First, by the time you will have absorbed all the knowledge I shall pass on to you in connection with the philosophy of success, which I have gathered from experience, you will be in possession of the greater portion of my riches. Add to this the value of the riches you will acquire from other successful men with whom I will arrange for their collaboration with you in the organisation of the philosophy, and you will be in possession of the greater portion of the real riches represented by the American system. The sum total of these riches will be too fabulous for estimation, because they will be of such nature that they may add to the riches of all the people of the United States, to say nothing of the people of other nations. Second, you will have demonstrated the soundness of the principle of going the extra mile by forcing the world to recognise you as the organiser of the first practical philosophy of individual achievement and honour, which is unusual, for no one before you has ever attempted to provide the people with such a philosophy, although the need for it has always existed. Third, the time will come when the unity of purpose of the American people will be disturbed because of the infiltration of foreign-born ideas which do not harmonise with the American way of life, and the people will be prepared through causes beyond your control for a dependable philosophy through which harmony may be restored. At this point, the wheel of fortune will turn up your number and your big opportunity will have come. You will not have to induce people to accept the philosophy. They will do that voluntarily. I can see this opportunity already in the making. The seed of it may be found in the growing spirit of greed through which men endeavour to get something for nothing. The seed is gaining ground in the disturbing elements which has begun to threaten the harmony between industry and its workers. Subversive philosophies will find a convenient soil for the germination of this seed in the labour organisations. Here is where the discord will become first obvious. Professional agitators will work their way into the labour organisations and use them as a means of undermining American industry. The disturbance may result in some form of revolution that will strike at the very roots of the foundation stones of Americanism, but it will run its course and the American people will recover from the shock. The people will begin to search for a way out, as the American people always do when overtaken by an emergency. Then your big opportunity will have arrived. The period of reconstruction of the American way of life will have begun, and the philosophy you will have organised by going the extra mile will become, of necessity, the means by which harmony will be restored. If you fail to see this picture, as I have painted it, your failures will be mine also, because I have chosen you as my emissary to carry out the greatest assignment I have ever given to any man. If you do your work as I believe you can do it, the whole world will be richer because of your labour, richer not only in material things, but richer in spiritual understanding, without which no form of riches can long endure. I hope you have recognised the fact that the philosophy of American achievement embodies not only the rules of material success, but also the principles expounded by the Master in the Sermon on the Mount. Whatsoever ye would that men should do unto you, do ye also unto them. Whatsoever ye would that men should do unto you, do ye also unto them. Unless you comprehend this broader meaning of the philosophy, you will miss the greater possibilities of your mission. The people of the world are becoming spiritually bankrupt. They are turning away from the principles of Christianity to embrace the principles of paganism. They can be led back to the true principles of civilization by converting their greatest weakness into an irresistible power of attraction. That weakness is their desire for material things. Very well, the philosophy of American achievement provides the only known, safe road to the accumulation of material riches, but it provides the means of spiritual recovery. Therefore, in giving the people that which they desire most, you will bestow along with it that which they need most. Surely you will not miss this point. Thus, in the picture I have drawn for you, you have a clear description of an opportunity such as no other American philosopher has ever possessed. This is an opportunity which may make you a great servant of the American people. Now I have a parting word of advice. Acquire humility of the heart. Do not become over-impressed with your own importance. Accept your mission as a privilege for which to be thankful, and not as an advantage of which to boast, remembering always that the greatest among you shall be the servant of all. And we are going to leave it there. Chapter 7's next. Cultivate creative vision. Okay, we're going to leave on this quote. No man is a free man until he learns to do his own thinking and gains the courage to act on his own personal initiative. Okay, guys, thank you for sticking with me through that. I will catch up with you guys soon for chapter 7. Take care. Much love. Bye for now.